What up, fam? I'm here with LY3 Creative, aka Lauren Yvonne, brilliant singer, songwriter, performer, label owner now.
Label owner is the new title.
That's what we're here to talk about today. So actually, just tell me how it got started, how the whole vanity.
I started as a vanity label, because you were working with me. Great engineer, producer here. I started as a vanity label. When I got to New York last time, I couldn't get my business registered because New York, I was bleeding money left and right. No matter how much you work, you just pay more taxes. So I ended up releasing off label for a couple of tracks, and they were successful, but there was a lot of issues with it. And my business consultant said to me, don't ever release off label again. Stick with your own stuff. And when I started doing that, I had more and more people come in asking if they could release. Now, I'm a house label, but I'm also a house label that specializes in authentic vocals. And that's how I laid the platform for myself. But then I started bringing in other artists. And I worked doing some remixes and working with people almost 10, 12 years ago. When COVID hit, I slept a lot. I think we all stayed home and slept a lot.
We caught up.
But then all of a sudden I started hearing from these DJs and remixers and producers from around the globe that I've worked with off and on 7 years ago, 5 years ago. And because when we do a radio promotion or I start getting a high rotation, all the quotes, all the PR, I would send to them because that's only fair, And they had one sheets that got them booked. They got in the circuit. They were working so much they didn't have time to get back. And as soon as COVID hit, they're like, okay, now I'm stuck at home. What are you doing? What's happening? And I realized they had cultivated this group of artists. And Harry Towers, who's been my mentor, just said, wow, you now have a really full roster of label and a full catalog. And I do. There's just amazing talent that has come in. It's like at every turn. It's just been wonderful.
So what do you see for this label? What's your goals next couple of years?
Well, first off, what I'm doing is different. Is being an artist and having that experience going off label and everything. The contracts out there are terrible. They're absolutely terrible. And I have had a major contract twice. I was given a major contract. One went belly up, and one, by the time I finally got it into a place where I wanted to negotiate it, I went back and the division of the label was gone. And it was a major label, but I tell people that story and they say that's typical. It's A&R people, just come and go. So,
and you know what it is like people grab from a talent pool. We are the pool of talent.
Yeah.
We write, we produce, we create. And they just get what they need and then move on and relocate.
Well, you know what? It's funny because years ago when I was in college, I started off with having a band and whatnot. But I was the one that always had to put the band together. I was the one that would work with the different. And it's kind of like the same thing with the label. It's kind of like those were your beginning, learning tools. So.
So what makes you guys different?
Well, I have contracts that are more of what I call an intent. It's like a contract of intent, or what I start off with is a letter of intent. Because the contracts they put out now are impossible. They don't have a rollover. If you don't make a certain amount of money, and sometimes if their promotion's not on time, they can make not huge amounts, but they could make several $100s over the course of 6 months, but you'll never see any of it because you didn't make the $200 quota that you needed or whatnot. And the other thing, and the idea is to you want them to get a certain percent. So what I do is I do have a letter of intent. Once the promotion is paid for, I give them a percentage of their track. What these guys are doing is crazy great. I mean, so if their track has this much more after the promotion is paid for, is getting this much attention, they're an out. They get 40%. I did 60. I own it. I created it. But they get 40% of what they create on their track.
That's
awesome.
And
if they want to call me out at 3 or 4 months, say I want to see what's going on, I will do the drop. The label works as my distributor. I do the drop down. I'll take a picture of what's selling so they can see exactly what's going on. Why not be transparent? The other thing I'm working on now is everybody who's released and worked on my label. I'm working now with getting us booked. I'm working with some people and booking and whatnot. We're hoping to get them set up. in Europe, and in
Awesome.
New York, and well, we'll see what else pops
See
up.
where else, right? Keep that one on the hush. Awesome.
Yeah, so that would be part of working with me. It would be like trying to get you booked, get you out there. Of course, if you're coming in from another part of the world,
Then
we'd have to
bring
make
them up
sure, we gotta make sure you've got at least a couple of weeks of solid bookings and whatnot, so it'd be worth the trip.
Absolutely.
Um,
Awesome.
The other thing I'm trying to develop, and it's going to be a slow, but I really have been researching it because I've actually had some of this, is licensing. I'm going to try to develop a license division.
Like to
because-
license your guys's and your music to other,
Yeah,
like
so-
to films or
Yeah,
TV.
film, TV, commercials, and stuff like that. I've actually had some licensing in the past, and I work in the beauty industry, and so things like that. And there's different types of licensing. But if I can do one song, but I could have, at the end of the day, I could have 12 different tracks on it.
Yeah.
And they're high quality, well put together recordings. And if all of a sudden one of my DJs that does more like a techno house mix as opposed to a classic new, or vice versa, does a new disco mix, I'm getting a lot of attention in the new disco division lately because of this amazing producer Rampus.
Right.
He's
Shout out to him.
yeah, shout out to Rampus. If that gets licensing, that's 40, even if it's a song I wrote. Now, if it's a song we wrote together, we've been doing a lot of writing together, 50-50 right down the center. And it's only fair. It's only fair. But yeah, I'm also getting new artists and new vocalists. And people that I've got my sister company, Zen Records, out in the UK. And he's bringing people in. It's global. It's global.
beautiful.
I've got some surprises coming as far as artists that are majorly talented.
I'm excited.
I'm excited.
So is there anything else you want to let the people know before we go, you know?
I'm here in New York with Kevin, reworking. Expect some really different stuff coming. Good, fun, exciting.
All the time.
All the time, yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll be back in New York again. It's home.
Appreciate y'all. Dawn Life, check it out. The movement.